PC San live on Ideas on Point. You can stream us on Facebook and YouTube Live, and you can follow us on Instagram for updates and behind the scene info. Today we are discussing failure and success. Let's bring in Ishkirat and Simrit to talk about failure. Hi Ishkirat, hi Simrit. How are you guys doing today?
Hi, I'm
Good. How are
I'm
you?
good. How are you?
I'm good too, thanks. So today we're talking about failure, kind of a scary topic because, failing is not something we associate with positivity, I'd say. So let's just start right away, and I want to know what your guys' definitions of failures are. So let's start with Ishkirat.
Well, for me, failure is guiding away from my goals or giving up on my goals. The goals I've set for myself are something I've obviously thought about and somewhere I want to be. So if I'm not willing to put in the effort to get there, then at that point I have failed.
Simrit, how do you define failure?
So I define failure as a lack of success, so not accomplishing the goals that you have set for yourself. However, I don't think failure is everlasting. So basically, what Ishkir said, that like once you give up, that's really when you're failing. Like let's say if you have a goal to reach a certain weight, and then by the end of the year you don't accomplish your goal, and so you don't essentially fail if you don't give up. You just need to try again with some improvements. So you try a different meal plan, you get a personal trainer. So the time frame of your goal will change, but if you're resilient, you can find another way to get what you want.
Yeah, I agree. Those are great definitions. So for me personally, what I see failure is not doing something you intended to do. So like Simran said, not reaching that goal, and like you said, not reaching that goal, Ishkit. For failure for me is like when something doesn't go according to plan, right? Like if I plan to do something, if I set out a goal for myself to do something and I don't accomplish it, that's basically failure for me. But also if I don't learn or grow from the experience as well. Like if I do something and if I don't learn from it, or if it doesn't teach me something about life or going forward in life, then I consider that as a personal failure, because every experience should be a learning experience, right? So what is the earliest memory of failing you guys have, and what did it teach you? Let's start with Simran.
Sure. So I remember when I was very young, I don't exactly know what age, maybe 8, and I remember quitting Kumon. So for those of you who don't know, it's like a extracurricular activity just for school, like not for school, but like they teach you math and English. And I think at an early age, like failure isn't distinguished by yourself, but by your environment. So at the time when I had quit going to Kumon, I felt a relief personally. But for my mom and my pua, like specifically, I remember that they were disappointed that I decided not to pursue it anymore, because for them it was like I was quitting or I was giving up. And so at that time, that defined failure for me. So it was like not living up to others' expectations.
Yeah, Ishkirat, how do you, what was your first experience of failure?
Well, I think this is a difficult question to answer simply because when we first fail, we obviously define it as failure right away. But over time, we learned that that wasn't just failing, that was just an experience that you learned something from. It was just a lesson. For me, this lesson would be from grade 8. It's definitely not the earliest, but the one I remember most vividly. I had become a person that I didn't even recognize. I wasn't the kindest or the most helpful. I wasn't a good friend. And that for me, now that I reflect back, was the biggest failure because I have never I never wanted to be that person, and I've always strived to be a good person, but at that stage I was not working towards that goal of being better for myself and for others. So I think that would be my earliest memory.
Yeah, those are some tough memories. I think the first, well, again, like you said, it's a hard question to answer because I don't obviously remember the first time I failed, but a memory I have is from middle school. So I think I was in grade 6 or 7, I'm not sure. But we had a math test, and I didn't really study for it that well because I thought that I knew what was going on. But I failed it. So I literally failed the math test. I think I got around 39%. It was crazy. I remember crying and bawling my eyes out. I was so mad at myself for not studying, and I thought it was the end of the world, but obviously it wasn't, right? So that experience taught me to work harder and do better in everything I do. And ever since, I've just been giving it my best, you know? Yeah. So, Simrit, tell me, what's an example of a time you thought you failed but actually persevered, and what did that lesson teach you?
So I think just like being myself, I struggled to really express myself or even know who I really was. And so I thought I would always like disappoint those around me, but I just learned how to like confide in myself and learned how to be there for myself and really like trust my gut, like to know what it was that I wanted for myself, like who I wanted to be, the type of person I wanted to be. And then like through the struggles I just became stronger. So you just by mistakes you learn, like Ishgrid said, it's just experiences that you live through and then you learn, and you do come out more stronger than you came in.
I totally agree. Ishkirit, what was your experience like?
Well, if I am to continue on with my most vivid one, so my grade 8 experience, I think it's very important for me to go through a phase where I was not happy with myself because it taught me or reminded me of who I want to be. And if I had never been that person, today I perhaps could be a whole different version of myself. If I had not learned that I'm not being a good friend or this is not the level of kindness I want to be at, then I don't think today I would want to be any more helpful or any more kind. And then I think school is a great representation of learning from your failures. Any assignment that you don't do as good on as you thought, or even simple feedback on an essay, just tells you that you can work hard. This is just to teach you better ways of managing yourself or better ways to put in more effort in order to strive and get a better mark the next time. What about you, Amrit?
Yeah, so my experience was from last year. So I was in a student-run company, and I was the vice president of human resources. And the team we had was quite dysfunctional, and we didn't really get along that well. And myself, the president, and some of the other VPs, we know for sure that it was going to be a failure, right? Like our team was so dysfunctional, we just thought, okay, this company is a complete failure, but it wasn't. At the end, we figured out that we didn't do such a bad job. We did quite a decent job for the mess of a team we had. We earned profit and we all got paid at the end. So what that taught me is, again, like you guys said, just make mistakes and learn from it, right? Like go for it. So yeah, but what I learned is that if you try to do something and you give it your best, the worst thing that will happen is that you'll be let down by your own expectations, right? But it's not really failure, I'd say. I just say most people don't even try, right? So if you're going to do something, do it anyways. And if you do it, that's great. If not, then that's okay. Ishkirat, I want to know, what role does family or society as a whole play in defining success and failure for you?
For me, I guess they would be my motivating factors. So what motivates me to make sure that I am pushing to achieve the goals that I do have. So the fear of disappointment is a huge one. I do not want to disappoint my parents specifically because they've done so much for me. And then not even that, they even support me throughout my goals, knowing that I have these goals. They will motivate, they'll say to me that, hey, you're doing great, keep pushing through, you will eventually get there. And as for society, I want to make sure that the goals that I am setting, so my definition of success, has some significance in society, whether that be for the better or for the worse. But I do want to leave a mark in society, so it's a remembrance type of a thing for me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And for me, my family is both motivator and also kind of fear for me, because I don't want to let anyone down, right? Like my family, friends, mentors, teachers. I try to do my best to live up to the expectations that everyone has for me. And for me, failure is if I let them down, then I know that I didn't succeed, right? So I do my best in everything, but I've also recently learned to think about my own dreams and passions too. So if I'm ever in a situation where I have to think, okay, is this right for me or is this right for others' expectations? I'm going to try to choose me. So Simrit, what do you think? What does family and society, what role do they play in failure and success for you?
Yeah, so my family, of course, they motivate me as well. It is a motivating factor, but like I mentioned before, at a younger age, I did believe that letting my family down was the biggest like way of failing. I still sort of believe that, like, I do want to give back to my family, and I don't want to disappoint them with my actions, of course. But just having like patience with myself is enough. So like if I fail at a goal and my family is disappointed, and if they see I can bounce back from my failure at the time, um, then they're understanding enough to know that they've lived longer than me, so they know that you make mistakes and you learn, right? So they understand that.
Yeah, both of you had very wise points there. Simrit, let's go back to you again. I want to ask you, what was one time you experienced actual success, and how did that make you feel, and what did that teach you?
Yeah, so when I started a baking business from home, that was a success for me. I learned that doing things now when you want to do is a good idea, no matter how scary it might be. So just doing whatever you want to do without anything holding you back is something I've learned from that.
For me, my favorite success moments are moments in school when I've done good on a test or when I've gotten great marks on an essay, because those moments tell me that the work I've been putting in, the extra time to review my notes, or that extra time to just edit an essay, and even the mistakes that I've made while practicing, say, a math problem, everything has come together to teach me and to give me a lesson. So when I do come to that moment of achieving my goal, whether in my case, I guess it would be getting that good grade, I know that every bit of hard effort that I've put in from the beginning has totally paid off. And that for me is my favorite part of success. And it teaches me or motivates me to keep pushing.
Yeah, so like Ishkiret, I have had similar experiences with school, and that every mistake leads up to something great. And but one experience that I just recently had was actually today. A few days ago, I decided to write a poem and make a video and post it online. And I was thinking like, oh, okay, my friends, my family are gonna see it. Great. Like I thought it was an amateur piece of work, and I wasn't gonna get much recognition or sharing or anything. But I logged onto social media this morning and I found out that my poem blew up. And I am still so shocked and surprised from that, because I really thought that my work was nothing, right? Like I'm probably going to fail anyways. But that just proved me wrong. And I learned that to just do it, right? Like our favorite brand, Nike, always promotes just do it. And I learned not to be so hard on myself. And I give that same advice to everyone. Like if there's a voice in your head telling you not to do it anyways, because you might prove yourself wrong. So, Simrit, what resources do you use or are available for you to help achieve success?
I think one of the biggest resources that I've been using during like this whole corona thing was like self-help books, like books to motivate me or just learn about other people's stories as well, and like getting the knowledge I need, um not just for myself, like my personal growth, but also for like starting a business, or like there's also like tons of online courses to help with that kind of stuff, and just people to support my dreams.
I think success or goal setting, specifically like writing them down, what you want to achieve, what success will mean to you, is a great way. Whether, I mean, I don't usually write mine down directly on paper all the time, I usually have it in the back of my head. But just knowing that this is what I'm working for just motivates me, that even if I made a mistake or it's not working out like I wanted to right now, the push and the effort is going to be worth it when I finally achieve that goal. And I usually end up telling my goal to at least one close friend because they keep checking up on me and making sure that I'm holding myself accountable. What about you, Amrit? I know you're great at goal setting.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm so great at goal setting, but one thing that helped me, my one and only resource that I really cherish is my daily planner. Please, please, if anyone is watching this, go get a daily planner. It will change your life. For me, it's just I can track my goals, my health, my dreams, my to-do lists, everything in one place, and it's great, right? But another thing, like you said, family and friends is something I rely on as well to give me that extra push when I need it, for sure. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about making mistakes and getting up again. But what do you guys think about the fear of failure and how that relates to making mistakes? What do you guys think about the stigma behind it? Ishkirat.
Well, there's a huge amount of stigma around failure. I feel like there's so much pressure from society. Sometimes it's not even our family or friends, but just random strangers. Like, what are they going to think of the fact that I failed this one time? And I think it's very unfortunate that that is how we think today because, in all honesty, our failures do not define us that greatly. It is how we reach to that successful point or how we make it down to that goal that really matters. So I think if there's anything I want to say about failure, it doesn't matter that you failed once. Learn from it, move on, and improve.
I think that failures are a good thing. Like we know all like the celebrities, all the inventors, and anyone who is famous, we know them, and I think we know them only because they've had so many failures in their lives that they've bounced back each time and they've like come out stronger, right? Like how we were talking about. And so yeah, I don't think failures define you. Just like Ishgrid said, you live and you learn. That's how it goes.
Yeah, so I agree with you guys. Failure definitely doesn't define us, but in a way, I think it kind of does as well. Because, like, if you look at J.K. Rowling, Albert Einstein, like famous people like them, right? Like, they tried so many times and they did fail many times, but like Simran said, they bounced back each time. So, in a way, failure does define us if we're able to persevere from it, right? So I feel like the stigma of failure is like you guys were saying, like it's a bad thing almost. Like you shouldn't fail, you should only succeed. Failing makes you bad, failing makes you incompetent, things like that, right? So I think it's something that as a society we need to work towards. And like Sarah said, just looking at all the famous people, like they failed at some point in their lives, but look at them now, they're like the most successful people ever. So if failure doesn't happen, success won't happen either.
That's true. And if it wasn't for that failure, no one would be here. No one just succeeds in their first time. We have to make mistakes, we have to learn from them because unless we learn, we're not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And I also think that the stigma is like getting better over time just because I feel like people tell their stories now, right? Like there's books, there's documentaries, like all that kind of stuff. And people are realizing that, like failures aren't as bad as they're seen to be. They're just part of the person that you're meant to be.
Yeah, that's very insightful. I think for me, after talking to you guys and after reading 2 books about failure and success, success has changed for me quite a bit. So before it was that one end goal, right? Like I'll be successful one day and that day I'll have everything. But now that's changed for me. And I really think, like Sumit said, it's about making mistakes and failing and getting up again, right? For me, success now is about just the experience and what I learn from it. And as long as I'm satisfied with what I'm learning with my mental health, and as long as I'm happy in life in the present moment, I'll be successful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Gen Z Unfiltered to talk about failure and success today. Thank you, Simra and Nishkirat, for reflecting upon your own experiences and teaching us about perseverance and why failure is actually important in defining success. We will see you next week on Gen Z Unfiltered. Until then, peace out.